Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining this session. Now, today we have Kseniia joining us here today. A little about today's session. Now, if you're breaking into an ultra elite MBA programs like Wharton, Booth, and Yale, you know that it's a challenge for anyone. But doing so with a low GPA, a non-traditional background in public relations, and no fancy recommendation letters, well, that's almost unheard of. So today I'm joined by Kseniia, a global senior communications manager at Opera, who defied the odds to earn admits from some of the world's top MBA programs. Now, Kseniia's journey is inspiring, from working full-time during undergrad to earning a scholarship for her master's at Bocconi. She's overcome countless challenges. We'll discuss how she crafted a standout application, tackled obstacles like a low profile industry and multiple GMAT attempts, and what drives her passion for a US MBA. So let's get started. Kseniia, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's lovely having you here. And yeah, let's just give a quick little intro and dive right into the questions.
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today and for listening to all my blah, blah. I got a lot for you. So get ready for that. As said, my name is Kseniia. I'm originally from Russia, but for the past quite some years, I have been living abroad, currently based in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. That's a short overview. I'm happy to walk you through my entire experience, but I'll give a chance to Salvi to ask me questions.
Awesome. Lovely place you're staying there, by the way. I love Dubai.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. Okay, let's just talk a little bit maybe about your background and your earlier journey. So, can you share a bit about the background, your undergrad experience, and what it was actually like balancing your full-time work with studies?
Yeah, sure. So as I said, I'm coming from Moscow and I was studying in Lomonosov Moscow State University, which is like #1 university in Russia. And I think it's top 75 in the world currently. Very competitive environment. And I was doing economics coming from mathematically focused school. So I thought that's going to be my journey. But then when I was admitted, I was only 17. And we do it quite early in Russia. So I was really young to make like, this life-changing decision what I'm going to do in life when I grow up. So it turned to be I chose a little bit wrong and I realized it quite soon. So I decided not to waste 4 years of my life by studying something that probably I won't use fully in my career. And I actually like knocked on the doors of probably every single public relations slash marketing slash creative agency there was in Moscow and begged them to give me an unpaid internship just to like be a coffee girl, anything, just give me a job. And for the first 3 months, I was working in the summer for the PR agency, and I managed to, showcase what I can do. I was really like working 16 hours a day to prove that I deserve this spot. And I was offered in the end to have a proper position. So I was studying and working during bachelor's, which was more common in Russia than it is in the States or I would say in Europe, but still not so common. It was quite daunting experience, to be honest, and that's where I got my horribly low GPA because classes were attendance based and participation based, and well, I wasn't attending, I was working. So that was the year. But yeah, balancing was hard, but I also needed to support financially myself and my family since I'm not coming from, let's say, fancy background. So I had to start earning money quite soon, as I think quite some of the viewers today that happens, and nothing bad about it. Like you can still make it work. Look, it happens.
That is the reality.
Yeah, so that can't be your obstacle. You don't have to put it as one. And then after graduating, I already had like 3 years of experience, which was compared to zero of my peers, was quite something. So I decided to proceed with getting masters at Bocconi. Bocconi is like one of the leading European schools and also one of the leading European MBAs. I was getting masters in marketing management there, and I got 100% scholarship.
Oh, wow.
So I was studying there for free, basically. And there I already started to work with Ketchum, which is like leading PR agency in the world. And I was managing Google's PR and social media in Russia for quite a while. And currently I'm at Opera, managing over 15 markets with like global communications and also some marketing and social media support. And Yes, I'm apparently going to one of these top MBAs quite soon.
I mean, like, it's just crazy. And by the way, guys, Ksenia got what, 2.9 GPA in undergrad.
Yeah.
And you said it's lower than that if you go into like exact
Yeah.
numbers.
It's like, I think it was something like 2.86 or something. So yeah.
Exactly. So like with such a low GPA, you managed to get into like one of these top. So nothing is impossible, guys. You know, like you
Absolutely.
like let your scores not be like your downfall. Like you can make things work. But the fact that you like literally got 3 years of work ex during your undergrad, immediately went for masters is crazy. And how long did you work for after you were done with your masters?
So I think currently I have like 7 years of experience, which
Seven.
I'd say it's a little bit maybe too much for an MBA. So I would suggest to like apply maybe a little bit earlier than I thought of this. But to my defense, I did apply last year and I didn't get a single interview. So I'm also a reapplicant. Hi, everyone. So there are like many things that went wrong with my candidacy, but here we are. Again, nothing is impossible.
Exactly. Well, let's talk a little bit actually about the low income side. So you said that you come from a low income family, and also that you come from like, and this is what I mean, I've known about, like you come from a non-traditional industry such as public relations. So did you ever feel discouraged about like applying to top MBA programs, and how actually did you keep yourself motivated throughout this?
Yeah, so it was tough. You know, when I applied first time last year, I didn't know that MBAs are apparently for like all this consulting and fintech dudes. Like I had no idea about that. I thought MBA is just, logical step in your career if you ever dream to become some C-level professional. I really
Correct.
like, so that, that didn't discourage me back then because I just didn't know, the rules of the game. And after being rejected, I reached out to a couple of MBA consultancy firms, and all of them, like as one, told me, you don't stand the chance. Like close Wharton, close Stanford, Harvard, like M7, just close these schools. You go to like top 20 max, that's your best case scenario. And like, no way. And the main reason was that apparently PR people don't get into MBA's programs. And like, again, here we go. I'm really happy about that because, I think all of you guys who are applying, you hear like so many things. Your GPA is too low, your GMAT is too low. You have like, I don't know, coming from very competitive country, like let's say India, or I don't know, something is wrong without your portfolio or your CV. Like so many things are wrong about you. Trust me, everything was wrong about me, and like it still works. I think that what is important if you're coming from non-standard background, so not consulting or finance, you need to make sure that like throughout all your application you focus on business outcomes. So you should make sure that like it's clear what you do business wise, because if I start talking about how many amazing press releases I wrote, that again doesn't give any understanding of me as a leader in the future. So try to find some kind of like tangible outcomes of your work as much as you can.
I understood. So, I mean, do you think like, I mean, with your work experience and like in your application, the way you, how exactly would you have, did you position your experience to show value in your applications other than what you just mentioned?
Yes, I think first of all, add numbers everywhere. And you can take a book, let's say Harvard Best Essays. There is a book like that, and every essay is like, oh my God, it's so romantic. It's breaking your heart. It's such a story. Well, you don't necessarily have to do that. I know a bunch of people who got in, including myself, whose essays were not like breaking anyone's heart, but they were very like focused on details and on data. So put in your mind that like the person on the other screen, the AdCom members, they don't know your industry at all. And they don't really care about every single tiny detail, but they want to see that your work was bringing some value to the company, to the society, to whoever you take. So try to focus on those like big picture results. And for example, within CV, when you put your bullet points, like ensure everyone has some kind of number. I'm coming from public relations. That's basically like, again, media relations, social media, like events and stuff. So it's really hard to find numbers there. But I would put anything. I would put like event that had that budget and that number of attendees. I don't know. I got this number of likes. Like my management approval ranking went from 75% to 95%. So like try to find any single number you can, especially if you're coming from like the poets side of poets and quants. That's your ticket. Justify your results and try to like measure them, even if you think they're unmeasurable. Like we really have to come up with some idea on how your work is like positively returning on the investment.
That's true. That, I mean, you this thing, and I mean, I've talked about this in a lot of other debriefs. Like quantifying your work is the best solution. That works for any job experience, even if it's in public relations or any other.
Exactly. And the same applies to leadership overall. So like, again, you can be a leader even if you, I don't know, bake donuts. It can be your job and you can still be a leader. You don't have to be C-level management to be a leader. Maybe, I don't know, you helped avoiding some kind of conflict. Maybe you led some negotiations. Maybe, I don't know, in some tiny aspect, you gained the authority and managed to like recommend your idea to C-level management. It can be like as little as, I don't know, the font of the press release. Literally, just try to find somewhere where you show this leadership. And again, if you are applying to an MBA, most likely you did, because you seem to be very kind of ambitious individual.
Exactly. And someone here commented, very talented, which I completely agree with.
Thank you.
And guys, if you're watching this, of course, like and subscribe to our channel. This helps helps this video reach a wider audience. And also, if you have any questions for Kseniia during this session, just feel free to post them in the comments, even after the session ends, and Kseniia will, of course, respond to them. Okay, so we talked about your work experience a little bit regarding your application. Let's also go back to your GPA. Now, with a 2.9 GPA, what steps did you take to address that weakness in your application?
So I think I had to prove that I wasn't dumb when I was studying. So it wasn't because I was, I don't know, lazy or head in the clouds. It was like I had a solid reason. So first of all, I knew this is like a very big shortcoming of mine. So I addressed it in additional essay section. I literally said like, hey guys, I know I have this low GPA. I'm not blind. You're not blind. We'll see that. So here and out, really don't be afraid of your weaknesses. And most likely Adcom will see them. So like, don't try to hide them. They will see them. Just find a good explanation. And I had that explanation. I said, yeah, guys, I actually screwed up there. I was working. I didn't attend classes. My GPA went really low. It happens. But here comes my GPA for master's, which was really good. Again, it's not that valuable for Adcom because they consider undergrad GPA. But still, I was like, see, I found the field I'm interested in, marketing. And here I was like top performer. And second is GMAT, of course. I think GMAT is super important. And I think that is like the only part of your application that is, well, fully transparent and fully under your control. You don't know how your essays are going to be perceived or your recommendation letters. GMAT is easy. Like it's basically a number. You just need to get a good number. And I would definitely recommend with a low GPA to focus on like really good GMAT score to prove that, you know, you can handle like rigorous education and you have this mental capability.
And when did you take your GMAT? Last year, I presume, right?
Yeah, so I took 2 attempts when I was applying to masters, which was like 5 years ago, and I got to 710 alt scale. I think that was like 10%, 10 percentile, that's the word. So, which was really good back then, but for MBA, well, not so good. So this year, in spring, I took 3 attempts, and I got to 695, which is 98 percentile for GMAT focus. Here we go. Since the scales also changed, so it's like a messy mess. I think it's something like 750 old scale.
Yeah, it's definitely a good score. So you said you got a 695.
Yeah.
And you attempted it thrice last year?
This year, yeah. I had first attempt, which was online. I do not recommend to take GMAT online. That's much more stressful than physical GMAT. Yes, it was a horrible experience in many ways. And like, I think it just puts so much extra stress on you that they're like, I don't know, take your chair and put it up so we can check what's behind the chair. Like, I don't know. And it happens every section of GMAT. So you're kind of out of control. You cannot solve. You're like too stressed.
That's true. The proctor is having a lot of trust issues with you. So you've got to.
Exactly. So like, if you want to avoid this extra level of precise attention put right into you every second, like if you want to be more chill, I would recommend to go into the test center. But regarding GMAT, yeah, I took many attempts. So I would suggest, in my opinion, I would suggest to like solve. I don't think there is any other way to do that. That's like any standardized test. You just have to solve. If you don't know what's going on, if you don't understand something, again, here comes GMAT Club or your friends. Reach out to others, ask them to explain to you. But I don't recommend to spend 3 months reading books. Like, spend a day, understand the basics, go and solve. And there is nothing better than that.
And what materials did you use, by the way? I mean, other than GMAT Club and solving questions.
Yeah, I think like the only book that I read was like Reading Comprehension / Critical Reasoning Bible. It's called this way. I think it's really good start because it's explaining the logic behind GMAT. And I would say for non-American people, this logic is not always logical. So you have to like really get into the way of thinking that they use. We didn't have like critical reasoning at school, let's say. I have no idea what to do that. So it takes time to comprehend what's going on. But then after that, I basically just bought like a bunch of practices among like MBA.com, all practices they had, and all kind of like training exams that you can take and so on and so forth. And then it just solved. So I would spend like 1 hour per day solving. You just get there and put a timer on and like do that. That's it.
I see. I haven't actually had the chance to ask you, but what did you study in an English medium back in school and undergrad, or like this was something you like learned along the way? Because taking the GMAT, your English skills like are different, right? And coming from like Russia, I don't know. I mean, I haven't come across, but like the kind of English you need is you need a lot of knowledge or a lot of practice from like a young age. So did you have that, or you kind of learned it along the way?
I think mostly it was learning along the way. And then, of course, my master's abroad helped me because when you are, studying English, talking to people who are foreigners and don't speak a word of Russian, you kind of have to learn, there is no other way for you left. So exposure is important, but I also think GMAT is not that much about like IELTS, not about grammar knowledge or anything, but mostly about trying to read between the lines. And like, even if you don't understand what they're talking about, you still should be able to answer the question somehow.
So the logical reasoning, like you kind of master that and really helped you to get a good score.
Exactly. And I would also suggest that don't apply with low GMAT score, especially if you're coming from very competitive backgrounds, such as, let's say, India. Like, really don't do that. It's better to take another year, apply to the second round. But I applied with a low GMAT score, didn't get anywhere, so don't do that. That won't do you any favors. And it's better just like take time and get ready.
That's true. That's true. Well, we talked about like the GMAT and the GPA. Let's talk about, I think, the other main components of your application, which is the essays and the recommendations. Now, of course, those were definitely critical to your story. What was the toughest part about crafting those, and how did you ensure that they reflected your strengths?
Yes, I would, as I said, just to repeat, like, ditch the idea that it has to be emotional poem. I thought so. I thought it should be heartwarming and breaking. And my first essays were like 3 paragraphs about my hard upbringing. Apparently that doesn't work. So try to focus instead on like strong narrative throughout. So I would say that all your essays should convey one key theme and idea. For me, it was social impact. And I walked through it like in different aspects. So I told the stories how I helped the communities I was born in, how I helped the student communities I was studying in, what volunteering work do I do, what social projects that I lead. And at the same time, I also highlighted those ideas within my work experience. So it was about very different stories, but it all came together about like corporate social responsibility and social impact, which are my long-term goals. So try not to talk about very different things. So try not to be like feminism, environment, AI. You should have a general idea, and it should be also the idea that you prove. I hope that's the verb to yourself and to others that you know how to deal with that. So like you cannot say, I'm all about feminism, I want to do that my entire life, and then you have like 0 examples from your entire experience how you supported this goal of yours. So it should be something that you already worked on. You're not coming to MBA with this like fancy new idea. And I would generally say that like try to avoid very basic fancy topics, as I just named, always like sustainability, environmental friendly. That's all cool, but everyone is going to do that. So unless you have a really solid track of record in this field, don't do it just because it's fancy and it sounds like in the agenda.
No, for sure. Also, I mean, I'm just gonna bring up like a few live questions here, and guys, feel free to ask more. Someone said here, inspiring journey, wish you the best. How did you handle rejections and failures last year and come back with such great outcomes?
Oh, didn't handle that well. I mean, I never give up. I think that's my rule in life. Like if I really want to do something, I'm not going to give up. But to be honest with you, my rejections came in when I was like on a very important event with all C-level management of my company, and like I had to run to the bathroom to cry a couple of times. So it wasn't pretty, honestly. But I guess it's okay. It's just, yeah, it hurts, but I think it's really, really important for yourself to know that no one can tell you what you can do. There is a saying on some like fancy Instagram quotes that goes, if someone tells you, yeah, can't do it twice and take pictures. And like, really. So, as long as you know that you are worthy, like, yeah, it takes time. Maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe it wasn't the right school. You never know. But I believe everything is for the best. And if you work hard enough, everything is going to be fine. Just like ensure you put the maximum effort you can, like work on your maximum potential, and then it's going to be all right. Against the odds, like here I am, living example of against the odds thinking.
Exactly. And like a follow-up to this, what do you think exactly worked for you though? I mean, obviously there were a lot of like negatives, but what were the positives in your application that made you stand out?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. First of all, consistency. Again, consistency is the key. And I managed to find stories supporting my passion about social impact throughout my entire journey, which helped to build this narrative. Then, second, I had very clear goals. So, initially, when I applied, I had a goal of something like, I'm just going to be cool, like C-level manager at Google. That's all fun and nice, but MBAs want some like tangible results again. So I worked through the entire like application of mine, and I built the goal which was much more tangible, which is like related to, let's say, improving digital access and internet penetration across some specific region in the world. And I had backup why I came up with this idea. So I traveled there, I talked to people, I did a lot of projects there, and that's how I saw the need in the market. So it was all like a logical flow in there. It wasn't just a random, as I said, don't do random ideas. I initially wanted to do that. I was like, I'm going to write about feminism now. No,
Oh, really?
that doesn't work this way. So like, don't just come up with something that you read in other essays or something that you randomly see online. Try to understand what's important within you, because even if you go through this part and like you write this amazing, let's say, environmental essay, you're going to crack on the interview in 5 seconds. So it's not going to work. If you don't believe in that, like it's not going to work.
That's true. I think this is the most important thing. You should just ask yourself, analyze. And it takes time. It's not easy figuring it out. It's not something you know about and you're like, okay, now I'm going to do the MBA. Like you really have to think about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, also like regarding your international background, or like the experience with managing communications for global brands such as, like you said, Google and Opera, like how did that like play a significant role in your application?
I'm not so sure about that, because honestly, these brands are, again, like, well, Google, yes, but that was again in Russia. Then Opera is great company, but that's not like BCG or McKinsey or Meta in your CV. So I didn't have that like screaming big companies. But what was important is that you might not have such a great company in your CV, but within my, let's say, rather small company, I have much higher role and more responsibilities. So like, let's say in Meta, there will be, I don't know, 300 PR managers. And in my company, it's going to be like 2. So the responsibilities that you get and the way of like exposure to, let's say, investment relations, partnership management, governmental relations, like 15 markets across the globe. Can you imagine like in Meta, some low level manager literally managing 15 markets? That's like a lot. And I think if you're coming from the company that's not so fancy and so big, you might even gain something from that if you really had a lot of responsibilities and you managed to prove yourself as a leader in that environment. Because honestly, it's a little bit easier to thrive in this environment than in like 3 billion people company.
Yeah, as long as you've made some impact in your work, I think
Exactly.
like that's the best thing that stands out for sure.
Exactly.
Okay. Someone here also asked like regarding your experience of the interviews, which was something I was gonna come to. So, how
Sure.
was your interview? Actually, we mentioned like your. Why don't you actually tell us where all you got admitted and where all you applied to, and then talk about like each interview process.
Absolutely. So I was reapplicant at Harvard and I didn't get again in, and I was like, well, that's Harvard's loss, I guess. So I wouldn't be too sad about that, you know. But yeah, I also interviewed at Wharton, Yale, Booth, and MIT, and I'll tell you about the experiences right away. I just wanted to like do a very short summary of what is working when you have like low GPA, low profile industry, no connections, and all that. I kind of put a couple of bullet points that I think would be helpful. So I just want to summarize it real quick. So yeah, first of all, high GMAT. Really, that's something under your control. So work on that. Make it really high. I would say if you're coming from competitive country like India, you probably should aim at like top 3%. So 97 percentile. Yeah. And if you're coming from less competitive, let's say Europe, then maybe top 5-8%. But that's like to make sure you make the maximum out of your GMAT score. I wouldn't suggest to apply with lower scores unless you have some like incredible background and I don't know, you invented the Tesla. But second, I think important to quantify the results as we discussed. So everywhere you can, CVs, essays, especially if you're coming from poets side of this equation, please make sure to quantify everything like as much as you can. Make sure that there is an impact. And I think third is try to find like the inner passion. So again, make sure that you don't come up with a random fancy story, but try to find something that speaks to you and that goes through your entire life, educational and professional, like all your experiences. And then coming to the interviews. So first of all, guys, breathe in, breathe out. Everyone is super friendly, like literally. I had amazing experience with every interviewer. It was like chill and nice and fun. And my number one advice would be, well, ensure you're yourself. I know that many of you, me too, want to like write down the stories, memorize the replies. I'm gonna be like perfect right now. And I did a couple of trial runs with friends and I started that. I'm like, hi, my name is Kseniia. And they're like, who are you? You know, so they said you have this like drive, you know, you're funny, you're like talkative, you're energetic, and you just killed it. You just like took and like killed it in a second.
Yeah.
Because you try to and especially like I'm young, I'm looking a little bit like doll style, so I wanted to be professional, you know. My goal was like, I'm gonna be very professional, I'm gonna wear a suit, I'm gonna speak straight without smiling, and that's how I almost ruined my interviews. So I didn't do that, guys, and I don't recommend you to do that. Like close all those notes, close all those thousands of replies that you prepare in advance, and just be yourself. Try to show the personality, try to show if you're like maybe curious or maybe shy or maybe funny or maybe like too talkative, or maybe I don't know, you raise some important questions in life, you're very philosophical. That's great to show who you are, and that's like the best you can be. All other roles are taken, so cliche, be yourself, that's the only role you got. So generally speaking, interviews were really nice. Then what is important, I think, prepare your like screw up stories. Couple of my interviews asked for many of those stories, so I would give a perfectly prepared story and it would be like another one. And I'd be like, okay, I'm scratching my brain. It's like, okay, this is the one. I'm like, okay, great. Give me another one. So try to make sure that you have great scrap stories. And by that, I mean, be honest about that. Like, don't try to say, once I sent an email and there was like a typo in there. No one is going to believe that. I mean, you must be really bad at work. If that's like the only mistake you've ever made, you're probably not doing anything. So try to find like literally kind of screwed ups that you made. Be open about them. The only important part is like always have a learning. So I did that. That went really bad. Like now I don't do this anymore, and that's the steps that I take further, not to repeat that mistake. Ta-da. But be ready to speak about bad stories. That's important.
That's
And I would also add to that if you find those stories, try to make them funny. Try to bring this person with you into that situation. Like, oh my God, and they were looking for me at that corner, and like I see the CFO coming my way, and because they're not gonna remember every single part of every story, but they're gonna remember the emotions you gave them. So try to make them laugh. Try to make them relax. Try to chat with them. And on that note, to add up, prepare 8 questions minimum for the interviewer. You would probably say 8 questions. That's too many, but you see how talkative I am, and I still had time to ask 8 questions. You're gonna have time. Try to find questions that speak into their experience, that are like really thought through. I definitely do not recommend something like, what is your favorite club? What is your favorite class? Like, try to be more creative than that. And I think I wanted to add something else here. What works for me amazingly, and what all my interviewers kind of like picked up and said that was really great, is try to predict their questions. So always are going to be questions: why MBA? Why now? Why Yale? Short-term, long-term goal? How is it all fitting together? That's 5 questions right there. You can just take and make like a full reply to them all. That's what I did. So I created a very clear story. I was like, my short-term goal, that I miss those skills. This is how I'm going to take them at Yale. My long-term goal is that those skills I need for that, and that's how I'm going to take them from Yale. This shows, like, basically you just take the speaking time for yourself, so you don't allow for too many dig-digging questions, because like you're speaking here. And on top of that, obviously that's your story. It's ready, it's like polished. You named amazing clubs and societies and professors, and you sound so well prepared that they're like, the puzzle is in their head. They're like, that makes sense. And that's exactly what happened at all my interviews. Like, all interviews were like, wow, you really thought this through. That makes sense. Like, the program is really fit for you, So yeah.
That's what you want about it. But that's a really good way of summing it up, at least with the way you prepare for your interviews, like best way. But of course, the interview process, I think, was a little different for each school, especially Wharton, because Wharton has teams. So how was that experience like?
Okay, Wharton, I'm really happy that you admitted me. I'm so sorry I have to take it. I hated it. I hated team-based discussions, and that was because it's very unpredictable environment, which I think doesn't really reflect how it works like in usual workplace, because you don't have any seniority and you have very limited amount of time. You don't know each other. And in my TBD, everyone was like me. So everyone was blah, 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 blah. And there were like 6 people, blah, 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 blah. And that was tough. You probably won't have the role that you want. I know that you think, I'm going to keep time. I'm going to write down ideas. Like, you blink, the roles are taken, literally. Like, it takes 5 seconds. And you probably won't be able to share all those amazing ideas you thought of. Maybe not even 5% of them. But my life hack, what I would recommend, definitely take practice sessions. I had 3. None of them were similar to reality, but I think what helped me is that I realized my gaps. So, for example, I didn't know Wharton resources well, and then I spent like a day literally studying all Wharton resources. And during my real TBD, I turned out to be almost the only one who knew them. And like, I managed to take the conversation on this part, and I was like, okay, I know everything about Wharton resources now. Like, we go. So I think it gives you like a chance to understand your gaps and fill them, and you never know when you're going to use them. That helped me a lot. That was the only chance to speak for me during like the entire TBD. Second, try to show something different. So for me, it was, again, I was like the funny one, So everyone was really stressed. I was just making some jokes, and I was like, oh, come on, guys, it's going to be all right. Let's do that. Let's do this. So maybe I didn't contribute to the discussion that meaningfully, but I definitely contributed to the vibe. So it was more like everyone was laughing. And then you get 10 minutes after for one-on-one session with the interviewer. And I think that also what helped me a lot, because I am not sure I was initially that liked by interviewers. So I didn't think I did well during TBD. But these 10 minutes, I used them like 9 minutes out of those, I used to ask questions, and I had very detailed and very like creative questions. So the interviewer who was with me initially came with a little bit like, but in the end, they were smiling and laughing and sharing their experience passionately. So that's
nice.
something you can also do. You know, if you don't feel so good about yourself, try to build that connection. Try to like bring the person into a better mood and let them speak about themselves happily.
And yeah, the fact that you were able to do that in 10 minutes, like, is really like incredible, especially with the fact you got an admit afterwards. It means you did something amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm like, just a disclaimer, and this is mainly for our users here in GMAT Club. If you guys are gonna get an interview invite and you have no idea what to do, we are having a session, which you'll know about next week, where we are literally giving free interview prep advice for every school, including the schools that Kseniia
So
got admitted.
nice.
Yeah.
I paid money. So guys, use that
This was
opportunity.
yeah, this was completely free, and you get to do mock interviews as well, like what you did with people. So this is a great opportunity for those who
Exactly.
might. But yeah, this was majorly about interviews. Anything else about interviews that sort of stood out for you that you feel like sharing? I feel like you did cover a lot about the interview process.
Yeah, I think that I would add that if you are not a native speaker, accents can be hard, guys,
Yeah.
really. So if you think that there are some particular accents that are really hard for you to comprehend, I do recommend you to find practice groups with those people. So that's what I did. I found some accents that were like really hard for me. And I literally jumped into their TBDs, being like the only one person who is not that accent, who is not having that accent. And that helped me a lot, you know? So like, if you have this problem, if you're not native speaker, try to find people with accents and practice with them, not to be in an awkward situation during the real TBD. Like, what did you say again? So yeah.
No, that's a really good point. But I mean, it's not something, you can fix like, in a go. Like, this is part of you, right? So you just have to wing it and do your best.
Yeah,
So
exactly. But that helps you to understand others because, yeah, if others speak with accents that you don't really understand well, really take time to practice because it might be a little bit confusing during TBD if you find a person from the part of the world that you never heard of, and let's say they're random, let's say they're Australians, and you're like, what was that again? So yeah.
No, for sure. Well, okay. I mean, we managed to cover at least the application part of things. Now I think coming to like the question that I actually was wanting to ask you before this live session started, but now I'd like to ask that now. Why US? Like, you mean you did your master's in Europe, and of course, like, this is common knowledge, but with the geopolitical issue with like your country and the US, why you wanted to go there anyways? What was your motivation to do that?
Yeah, I guess first of all, I already had the degree from European Business School, so I knew how it's like, and I've spent quite some years in Europe, so this is pretty kind of common for me already. I want to try something new. I guess the perk of the US MBAs is that you can equally be accepted with them into like top positions both in Europe and US, and with the European Business School, you kind of going to lose for like candidates who had MBA in the US. So I would say that in that sense, it's kind of better. So it fits both worlds. Maybe the exception will be LBS, but apart from that, I wouldn't say that much, at least from like what I gathered so far. And then on top of that, I'm really interested in working for like leading tech companies who are mostly based in the US and Silicon Valley. So this is the perfect market and like the perfect way to enter that market for me.
Oh no, gotcha. Well, okay. And regarding the experience, so was there a specific aspect other than what you mentioned of the US MBA experience that appealed to you more than the European alternatives? Other than, the being in the tech and like getting into that tech side of things.
I would say that generally, the network, because if you look at, let's say, Wharton, they have like 200,000 credits. So, I mean, that's quite a lot. And also the class size and everything. So if you really want to build this huge network of like best out of the best, I think that's a great opportunity for that. European schools are more niche. And again, let's say I wouldn't expect many Americans to go to European schools, especially if we take like more traditional, European Union, like HSA or ESADE or Bocconi. And I was studying masters in Bocconi, and I think my class was like 90% Italians, and that was English, like English taught master's program. So I wouldn't expect that much of diversity in Europe. And for me, it was also interesting to work and study with people who are coming like literally from all over the world.
Understood. Also, once you're done with your MBA, are you planning to then stay in the US? Like, what are your post-MBA goals?
So my post-MBA goals, well, as I said, I'm generally interested in corporate social responsibility and integrating it as a core department in the company so that companies think of how to help the others in terms of both like investments and technological aspects. But short term, I want to learn more about product development within tech companies and B2C products, because I think that if I want to bring those technologies to underserved regions across the world, then, well, I need to know at least how they function, and I need to make sure that I can improve them. I know how to build them better to serve the regions that are not, let's say, US or Europe, those who got like 90% internet access rate. Because if you take, let's say, Kenya, it's like 30% internet access rate, So things are different across the globe. And that's what I want to do short term. And long term, I want to become a CMO and basically lead corporate social responsibility at tech giants.
Oh, how nice. But also, like, how has your experience in communications like prepare you for this career that you want in product development in big tech?
Yeah, I think generally communications. I think it was Warren Buffett who said that if I was down to my last dollar, I would spend it on PR. I actually agree with that because PR is like company reputation, and I mean you can be building reputation for decades, and then let's say their Samsung phone burns somewhere, and like your reputation is tanking this very second. And depends on how you handle that situation. Like the future of your entire company depends on that. So I think it's really important to be able to always think of the aspect of how you're perceived as a brand. And I think it's really helpful from what I learned before. But generally working with tech companies, you also get a better understanding of like the world of technologies work and different regulations and government relations and so on and so forth. So I think I should be doing fine in product development.
Awesome. Well, I mean, we mostly covered everything here. I guess my last few questions would mostly be now advice that you personally have for people who are applying. So what kind of advice would you give, for those who feel like they don't have like the perfect profile or a high GPA or even a traditional background?
Sure, I have a list of those guys. I'm ready. So first of all,
You're ready.
Make sure that you believe in yourself. Try to find someone who also does. Like that's really important. Try to find a friend, a family member, an MBA consultant. Like it doesn't matter who it's going to be. It should be someone who believes in you real much. And when you don't believe in yourself, that person going to stand by you and say like, yeah, you can do that. And I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it without people who supported me in this way. Like, not by reading my essays, but like literally saying you can do it. So again, if you need me, feel free to reach out. I'm going to tell you can do it in case you're ever not. Then find like 20, 30 people who did it and ask how. That's my first rule in everything in life. That can be career, that can be open your own company, that can be, I don't know, getting a permit to stay in Dubai. Doesn't matter. Find people who did it, ask them how they did it. Very simple rule. Then focus, as we said, data results. Ditch emotional appeal. You can have a little bit of that, but like first of all, it should be tangible results of your entire journey. Like what did you do well? What was your value ever in university? When you're working, I don't know, in the community you're serving, like what's your value to this world in general? Then GMAT again is the only predictable part of this application. So that's something how it's going to be perceived. You don't know about anything else about your essay, about like nothing. GMAT is something A, you can change. It's not a GPA. You can still change it. And B, it depends like 100% on you. So please put all the efforts you have into GMAT. It's really important and like stupid to lose that because that's something that's just like 100% under your control. Then recommendation letters, I think in my honest opinion, I think they're like 20-25% of the success. And I would tell you that like, please put effort there. Don't write your own. I know everyone tells you that. I'm like, oh my God, but like, come on, who will know? They will know. And they will know not because they're sneaky people, but because it's really clear to see what's your writing style. And I'm coming from public relations, so I'm telling you, we see that. We know when it's AI, we know when it's copied, we know. I'm not even any AdCom member, but I still know when people do that. So don't do that. And try to find the advocates who can speak for you and like do really extensive prep with them. So I did like recommendation guides. I did like 100 rules of good recommendation letters. So I really prepared them for that. And I took many calls. I said like thousands of thank you letters. I sent flowers and wines to my recommenders. So, you know, you kind of have to go all in that and try to ensure that those are people who can speak warmly about you. I think it's more important than anything is that they really should be rooting for your success. So if it's someone who may be more senior but will write something like, Kseniia is an amazing candidate for the MBA program, I highly recommend her. That's not good recommendation letter. So better find someone who maybe not that senior, but someone who like really cares about you. Someone who can be like, oh my God, you're not going to believe what Kseniia did during her amazing journey at opera. She was like the star. So you want that vibe. Try to find that. It took me a while, but try to find that really. Then next, I know you probably don't expect that, but it is going to take a bunch of time for you to fill all the fields in the application. So don't think it's going to be a recommendation, CV, essays, and that's it. There are like 1,000 other things in there. They're like your salaries from all the years. I don't know, the context of other people who need to be your references, recommenders. There are extra essays, short-term goals, long-term goals, video essay questions, behavioral assessment. So you cannot complete the application one day if you've never opened that before. Try to put enough time to like complete all these sections that probably are not as basic as like essay or whatever you already know is in there. Yeah. And I think I have like a couple of last ones out. So if you reapply, as I did, improve each aspect. I'm not kidding, improve each aspect of your application. So take it step by step. Retake GMAT, do some important project at work, re-choose recommenders, rewrite essays from scratch, not just rewriting. So really try to work on every single aspect of your application, try to improve like at least a little bit every single one of them. That's what I think helps. Then don't prolong your applications unless you expect some crazy major improvements. So there is no need to apply next year if nothing is going to change in your life. And like you'll get, I don't know, plus 10 points on GMAT. So don't prolong your experience. 7 years is too much, in my opinion. Try not to just like scratch that as much as you can. Be yourself on the interview. That I think we already discussed. And last but not least, don't apply to 1-2 schools. Don't be like, I'm only going to Harvard. I did that. That doesn't work. so don't do that. Choose like reasonable amount of schools, different variety. Even if you're not, let's say you apply, I don't know, to Berkeley and you don't want to go there, then you can use it as negotiation for other schools and scholarships. So just always apply for at least some number of schools, not like 1 or 2.
Exactly. Well, someone here said, your journey is a perfect portrayal of not giving up, which
thank you.
So well, yeah, I mean, also, I mean, you've definitely given a lot of solid advice. Is there something that you would have done differently if you had a chance in your MBA application process?
I think first round, of course, yes, like last year, and that's why I did a lot of things differently. But I would say that I wouldn't be stressing that much. I know it sounds like impossible to do, but I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, I made myself feel horrible. I don't do that really, especially about the interviews. So I understand the application process is harsh, but interviews, I promise you guys, they're all real nice people. They all care about your journey. They all are like fun, engaging, smiley. So it's at all not an interrogation. They don't like, and this year, this month, what did you do at 2 p.m.? You know, no, there is nothing like that. So just at least for the interviews, don't stress out that much. Like, not worth it, really. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, you shouldn't show. You should feel confident as well, right?
Exactly.
If I would have given an interview, I would personally be like, okay, this is just any other conversation I'm having with a person.
True.
Breathe and calm down.
Exactly.
Like, one thing I feel like also students should know is if a school doesn't take you, it's not as if you're not good enough. Maybe you're just
Exactly.
not the right fit for that school for that particular year. So schools always look for
Exactly.
candidates. So don't feel bad if you didn't get in. I think that's the biggest.
Exactly. Like, don't ever feel bad because honestly, I mean, there's gonna be a great school for you. Don't you worry about that. And maybe that's, again, the sign from the universe. I don't know, the stars are in the right position or whatsoever. Like, whatever you believe in. But maybe that's just not the right school for you in the end. Maybe by rejecting you, they actually redirect you to a much better school that will be a better fit.
Exactly. Oh, okay. You finish the sentence. Okay, awesome. Well, I think the last bit that I would ask was, for for applicants from countries with unique geopolitical challenges. What would you say is the key to overcoming those barriers?
As bad as it sounds in some way, like, it's good to have international experience. That's true. So if you're coming from the country that is, let's say, not perceived as economically thriving or politically thriving country in the States, then maybe it's really good to try to expose yourself a little bit internationally, at least within your own region, even like not
Mhm.
focus on, not like was born in one city, raised in one city, graduated in one city, never ever moved anywhere. So at least like travels or experience exchange programs, whatever, like internships, whatever you can take, try to do that. And then again, show that you know how to work with people from different backgrounds. And I think that's what MBA programs are looking for. You should be able to work from people all over the world, and you shouldn't be having any issues with that. So try to find those like tiny pieces in your experience that can prove it. Maybe, I don't know, you mentored a foreign student in the university, or you had a foreign colleague coming for internship in your office and you helped them to settle. So try to find a little bit of this like cultural aspects that can help show that you are an international candidate after all.
No, that's solid advice. Well, okay, I mean, I think we managed to cover pretty much everything. Of course, it would have been awesome to get more questions, guys. I can see you guys are watching, but you guys are always so shy to ask your stuff. So no worries. You guys can obviously comment even when the session ends. And if you want, reach out to Ksenia on LinkedIn. We will definitely put it somewhere in the description and in the comments as well, so that you can find her LinkedIn profile. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Ksenia, for doing this. It was incredible.
Thank
I wish
you.
you the best with your MBA journey in the US. And yeah, this was amazing. Also, just FYI, guys, we're having a live GMAT quiz right after this. So hop onto our channel if you want to solve GMAT questions and get an incredible score.
Better do. You better do, guys.
But yeah, thanks once again, Ksenia. And yeah, just good luck and best of luck for
Thank
your
you.
journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Feel free to ask any questions, reach out in case you need any help, or like you want someone to look at your essay. Always here to help. So good luck. You're going to make it. And thank you, Salvi, for taking the time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Bye.